What I would like you to do is modify your project a little bit. And I'm going to show you what it looks like after you modify. So it looks something like this. You're going to add your movie list here. You're going to change the colors of your links and the colors of the headings. And you'll notice that it's going to be reflected pretty much in all your pages. And the landing page obviously has also changed. So I'm going to show you how to make these changes. First thing that you're going to want to do is find a graphic that you like that has something to do with movies. And I always go to Pixabay because it is royalty free. And it does not have to be the same graphic as I chose. But these are the free ones. Okay? And it doesn't matter which one you pick. So, find one that you like or, that you don't hate and click on it, do download. And where you're going to download to is your www root folder, and you need an images folder in that. Okay. So before I do that, to create the images folder, you're going to right click on www root, go to add, and then you're going to choose new folder. Now, if your app is running, you're going to have to stop it or it won't let you give your folder a name. Okay. So if you go to add in folder, you'll see that it's highlighted. You can give it a name. You're going to call it images. Okay. You can see I have one in here. So let me get rid of that. And then once you've got this images folder, then you can save your graphic right into that folder. So that folder, at least on my system, is on my hard drive. It's under users, and then my username, source, repositories or repos, CIT 195. And then I have to go down and look for Razor Pages or my Razor Page movie, wherever that happens to be. Quite a ways down here. There it is. Okay, and then you can see I've got all my project folders. I'm going to open up www root, open up images, and then I can save it in here. And you see I have a couple in there. So I'll probably just call this one film. Once you've got it in that folder, then you can add the image tag and add it to your actual view page. Okay, so if we come down here and we have the view that we're going to be changing is our index view. Okay, so this is, you'll notice there's an index inside movies. It's not that one. This is the index inside pages. That's our landing page. And so these are the changes that I made to mine. So you can see that I added a div here for a row. And here's the closing div. And then I've got a div here. And inside there, I took the welcome to RP movies. And that's my heading 1. And actually, we don't need the style because we are going to add it to our site CSS. Okay, so you can just take that H1 classes display for and move it inside this little div. And this little div we're setting as a column 6. That is Bootstrap's grid view system, and it makes it responsive. And so it works the same as grid view back when you took the 180 class, where there's numbers 1 through 12, and your columns need to add up to 12. Display is a Bootstrap property that affects the size. The smaller the display number, the bigger the size. And the numbers go from 1 to 6. So I've got display 4 here, but that was put on it automatically. And then I added some paragraphs. And so movies for rent online or movies to view in the theater. That's the first paragraph. I set the display class to 6, so it'd be a little smaller. Then I've got rentals available 24/7. Again, this is a paragraph with a display class of 6. Another paragraph with a display class of 6. In theater showtimes are. And then for the next 2 paragraphs, there is no smaller display size than 6. So what I did was I just threw in an inline style and I set the font size to 1.5 EM. And that is a relative size measurement. And 1 is the current size. So I just increased the size about 50%. Okay, and then I've got for the showtimes, Sunday 12 to 3 and 6 to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9 p.m. Okay, so that's what I put in for the showtimes. And that is all inside that column 6 width. Okay, then I added another div. Class equals, this again was column 6 because 6 and 6 is 12. And then inside that div, the division, I put my image. And the thing when you are keying in image, I'll key it in again and show you. And what it kind of does is it shows you some of the folders that are in WW root, but mine is not showing images. So I just simply keyed in images and slash, and then it's showing me all of the graphics I have to pick from. Okay, and so I picked the film strip, which is the one I wanted, and I added some alt text. So that is all you're going to have to do there. Okay, and once you've got that, you can save and you can run it. Now your text is not going to display in orange yet, and your graphic is not going to have rounded edges because we have not changed the site CSS yet. We are going to do that next. Okay, but you should be able to see the difference in the size of the text, and you should be able to see the additional text that is on the home page. And you should see the text displayed next to the graphic because they should be using that, 6 width layout. I'm going to close that. To get the rest of the styling that I want, we are going to go into Site CSS. Okay, and so there is some CSS that's in here by default. Okay, and I added H1 and H2. Very simple styling. I just changed the color and I added a text shadow. And I did the same thing for H2. Added a color, added a text shadow, and I do not care what color you guys pick. For the image, I threw a border radius on there that rounded the edges. And for fonts, now this is a little weird. The way that Bootstrap styles its fonts is it adjusts the anchor. And so that's going to affect everything except for the hover. So I changed the anchor to dark goldenrod, and then that left the default color for the hover, which I didn't like because it was blue, and I changed it to maroon. Okay, so you can do the same thing. Otherwise, you're going to get the Bootstrap colors. And the reason this is going to override Bootstrap is because it is pulled into the layout page. Now, if you remember, the layout page pulls in all of the CS HTML files at this location. And up at the top, it has the style sheets. So it's pulling in Bootstrap. And after Bootstrap, it is pulling in the site CSS. And if we were to create this Ranger Page movie style CSS, it would pull that in next. But instead of creating another CSS file, we're just adjusting site CSS. So I could actually get rid of this because this doesn't exist. Okay. But that is where that CSS gets pulled in, and it is going to override Bootstrap. Let me save this. There's one other change I want you to make to this layout, and it is to the navigation. Because yours only has a home and a privacy navigation link. And I would like you to be able to get to your movie page without having to key it in the URL. So to make this, basically all I did is I copied what was under home. So I copied the opening LI through the closing, and I pasted below that. Okay, and then the only thing I had to change was this little section here. Okay, so this is saying, look for the index page. And it's assuming that that index page is inside Pages, which is true for the landing page, right? The landing page is the index page inside Pages. But for our movie page, we have to tell it to open up the movies folder and then display the index. Okay, so you have to add movies/index. And then this is the text that displays in the nav bar. And so I want you to key in movie list there. Now, the other adjustment I made pretty early on in the project was to change the colors. So if you did not make that change earlier on, if you like the darker navigation bar, you can make that adjustment now by changing to navbar dark. Okay, and this is in your nav tag. And then BG black. Now, if you do this change, you are going to have an issue displaying the links in the nav bar because by default, the text is black or dark. So what you have to do down here for each one of these is change it to text-white, and then you'll be able to see it. Okay, and these are all Bootstrap commands. And if you are curious about any of the Bootstrap commands, at any time, we are using Bootstrap 5. And so if you key in Bootstrap 5 and you key in like the commands that you want or you're interested in, maybe like navbar, okay, you can actually go into the Bootstrap site for their documentation. And they have a ton of documentation on everything. Or W3 Schools also has information on Bootstrap 5. Okay, and that is what we are using. Okay, so this also contains information that you may want to look for. There's a whole section on Bootstrap 5. Okay, but just know that any Bootstrap setting that you don't like, you can change in site.css. It's just a matter of figuring out how Bootstrap applied the styling, like with the links. They changed the anchor. Right? They didn't do A::link, V::link, any of that. They actually changed the anchor. Okay, so how they apply styling sometimes is a little different than what you would do. Okay, so I'm going to save everything. And once you make those changes, when you run it, you should see the color changes. Okay, so this is H1. You should notice that you've got some rounding on your graphic. You should have movie list in here. And then you should notice that all these links changed. And then if you go into any of these, you will notice that you have whatever color you selected for H1. And again, your links have changed. Right. And, you can add background color, you can add graphics to whatever pages you want. If you wanted a background color added onto here, that is not a requirement. What I showed you before was required. Okay? But if you are really into styling, if you want all of your pages to have the same background color, you can actually just put something in main here. So I could put a little style in here, background. Let me see if I put in linen. Let me save it, reload. You can see I have a lot open, but you can see now it has linen. However, now I don't like it because it's right up against the edge, so I would probably want padding as well. But you can kind of see how that looks. Okay, and so that background color obviously is not required, but if you do something like that and you think it looks a little squishy, then padding 10px, save that little reload here. And we should have a little bit more space. Yeah, so that the eye is got about 10 pixels now between it and the edge, whereas before it was right on the edge. And if that's not enough space, just bump it up a little bit more. Okay, so hopefully this all works out great for you, but if you do have any problems, let me know and I will help you.